Hello. Tonight I am so excited about this team that I have. They're a team of teachers and they I am so excited about them. I mean, Kelly Brown. She is one of the teachers and she's the youngest teacher on the panel. And Carolyn Ruth is a teacher and she's a mother of seven. And Carolyn teaches she also teaches Chinese she also teaches English to the Chinese. Okay, I'm sorry. And then we also have Jean Rickard. She's a retired teacher from upstate Pennsylvania. So the three of us, or the four of us, are going to get together tonight and we're going to talk. And I'm so excited about this. We're going to talk and get wisdom from every level because we're all at every level in our lives, and we're going to get wisdom so that we can be effective during this time concerning racism and all this stuff taking place. And being effective is very important. While this small window is open during this time, it's important that we do our part. So we're coming together tonight just to strategize on how to move forward successfully. And one thing that we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to touch it a little bit. And I love this saying, just listen to this. It says, the future of Black people is not dependent upon how white people treat us. The future of Black people is not dependent upon how white people treat us. The future of Black people is dependent upon how we treat ourselves. It is important, and I will say this over and over and over, it is important that we as individuals love ourselves before we can love or teach another person. That has to be settled. I'm not going to be free and to do things if I'm waiting for you to do it for me. I have to accept and love myself and recognize that what's being done for me is deserved. It is deserved, and you have to have that reservoir on the inside of you to receive it. And so tonight we're going to talk with Kelly and Jean and Carolyn about how to strategize concerning racism with children. So come along, join me, and let's have fun learning how to maneuver. Carolyn.
Hi.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Kelly.
There we go. Hello.
Mute everybody.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hello.
Hi. Good to see you both.
Yes, you too. You got your earphones on. You look like you're ready to go.
Well, I teach online pretty regularly.
Okay.
And so I've got my whole little setup here, and with also, 8 other people in the house, I need something that's going to block some sound.
Yes.
So it's good. Yeah.
And I like your setup behind you. You look like you are ready.
Thanks.
Yes.
I teach English to children in China.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That is interesting. My cousin, when we were on Zoom this morning, she's an attorney in Philadelphia, and she taught for about 5 years English in Japan.
Oh, wow.
And she loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
There are things I like about it. It's not, I don't want it to be my forever job, but it's a for now job.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm impressed. What about you, Kelly? What are you up to, girl? Look at you looking beautiful.
Oh, thanks. In the summer, I do my hair. And during the school year, it goes up in a messy bun and I walk out the door. I have a constipated teething baby. So if I need to rush off, if you see me disappear, that is why. But for now, I'm content. So.
Oh, we remember. You remember, don't you, Carolyn?
Absolutely. Oh, my goodness.
So, Carolyn, how many kids do you have?
I have 7 children.
7. I love it. And what's the oldest and who's the youngest?
The oldest is 17 and the youngest is 11. So
really?
They are all very, very close in age. Yeah.
Okay. So you should have a lot to share with us tonight with 7 kids, you said?
7. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I love this.
3 are. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say 3 are biological, 4 are adopted, and I've got 3 boys and 4 girls.
Okay. 3 boys and 4 girls.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. Okay. I think your girls, you could not deny them. The ones I see online, sometimes they are like yours.
Yeah, that
all
is
of them
true.
are, I'm sure they do. I love it. Well, thank you guys for joining in.
Sure.
Thanks for asking.
And thank you for being on time. This morning I had a Zoom with Sarah. Remember Sarah Waterson Johnson?
Yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with Sarah and a pastor in her area. His name is, his last name is Kennedy, but his first name is Billy. Billy Kennedy, I think it was. He reminds me of sort of the guy from Hillsong. I don't know his name. You know, is the pastor?
Oh.
I don't know his name either, but I know
but you can picture his face. He sort of reminds me. He said, I'm a pastor of a predominantly white church. He said, no, I have to say an all white church because there's 2 black people in it. So I can't say that.
Yeah.
But he said, black people come in and then they leave. And he was asking the people that were there, why do they do that? So I just love that he's asking questions. He's not presuming, and and this is the time we have to ask, I think.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And have a platform for people not feeling condemned for asking.
Mm-hmm. Sharon. Oh, sorry. Are we expecting more people, or is it just the 3 of us? Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, I wanted to say, after I sent you that one question, I was thinking about 2 more that I can type them in the chat box too, if that's helpful. But one of them kind of goes along with what you were just saying about the guy in England. And I'm not sure what the scenario is there, but for us, like, we live in such a rural white area.
Okay.
Like, literally, I know 1 black family in our county.
Okay. In the schools as well?
We have, there are some children of different races, very, very few. I mean, it's probably 1% of it is so few, and many of them are mixed race, and they're often the white parent is the one that is most visible.
Okay.
It's really, I actually met with the gal, her name is Ashley, who is the woman that I know of this one black family.
The mother.
Yeah, to ask her what it's like to live here. And this is a couple of years ago, actually, what I can do to be helpful. And it's tough. It's weird.
Yeah. Did she have anything to say about it?
She talked about that her experience has been mostly positive. She said that the thing that she gets exhausted by is just not seeing anyone else who looks like her, like just always being kind of the only face and the representative for her race, in the area, which that's not fair to her,
Yeah, right.
She and her husband moved from like Lancaster area, I think, before they came up here. She used to work at the Milton Hershey School. I know that.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So that's Harrisburg, I guess, isn't it? I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, so yeah. And I said, what can I do? And she said, just call things out as you see them when you're in white company. Call things out.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, so that's the biggest thing. But to be honest, I feel like the people I am mostly around, I don't hear a whole lot.
Okay.
And again, because there's so few black people even around us.
Okay.
It just is not even a topic of conversation usually.
Right.
Like it just is not even part of our. I don't know. And we do have Mansfield University is very close to us.
Okay.
And when the students are in session, there is more racial diversity then.
Okay.
But again, and it's very different than Indiana. It's very different than IUP in that, like, the university is very isolated. So it's not part of a larger community. It's really just kind of like up on the hill by itself. Many of the students are, they drive in and drive out, and they don't stay there much. And so we don't even, there again, like, unless we go to campus, we're not really seeing them. And we don't have a lot of opportunity to do that.
Okay, so are the people from campus, do they come to your church? Because you're at a Vineyard Church, is that correct?
We are at a Vineyard Church. Yes, our Vineyard Church is about 25 miles or 25 minutes away from the university.
Okay.
And so no, they don't. We don't really even white students, like we don't have a lot of college students come to our church. Which is actually something like moving into ministry in that area is something that has been on several people's hearts in our church.
Right.
But then of course too, like with COVID and everything has just been shut down, and it's hard to do that. But I would love any insights. I know this is not really the topic, but any insights you have for how to better engage with racial diversity in an area that's like all white.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's really hard when you have no interaction with Black people at all. I want to say, why? I mean, you almost don't have a reason to almost.
Yeah. And we are not fearful, but like we want our children to be exposed to more racial diversity than what's going on here. Right. So we try to look for opportunities, like when we go visit John's family near Philadelphia, like be out and about and just like seeing different people, just so it's not such a like novelty, you know?
Right. So have you had a conversation with your kids? I'm just going to get started because I think some of my people may be on tomorrow night. Sure. I don't know what I did, but anyway.
Sure. We talk pretty openly about most things because over half of my kids are adopted and they have some trauma in their background. We started very young, just talking about opening up all the doors to all kinds of topics.
Yeah.
And my adopted daughter, is actually from Russia. So she was born in Russia. Her first language is Russian. And her birth mother was Russian and her birth father was American, which is why she was living here, and we became connected with her through foster care. And so she, even though she's completely white, blonde hair, blue-eyed, she has that sense of otherness though. Because she has an accent. She also has some hearing loss. And so even in her school, like she has experienced some otherness as far as that goes. And so that too has kind of opened up conversations about race. And we try to be as anti-racist, openly embracing as possible of every nationality and ethnicity and race, but other than saying that we are, I don't know how to do it because there's just like no opportunities.
Right. So that means you have to come visit. You guys have to come visit Aunt Sharon.
That would be an adventure for you.
Yeah, exactly. That is interesting. We have friends here who adopted a lot of kids too, and so they have some of the same questions in their mind. So we have fellowship with them often because, and I think it's a lot to do with because we're been up and to introduce them to more Black people, which I don't mind. I mean, Yeah.
Are the children that they've adopted Black?
Yes.
Okay.
No. None of them.
They are all none white. Of them are okay.
Yeah, but there are Black children in the school.
Yeah.
And so they do have some contact with them, and they weren't sure what their contact was doing. Because if kids, and Kelly, you would know this too, if kids if they tend to lean towards the people, how the kids react in the school that they go to. So if the kids are sort of offish with certain kids, very seldom, maybe you do sometimes find kids who break that and go through, but for the most time, they don't want to be outcast, and they sort of, and so their purpose for having them around me a little bit that I know of is, it's like, wait a minute, Black people don't bite. They wouldn't say that to the kids, but, they're like us, just outside is different. You try to explain it at their level as much as you can, know. So Kelly, we have to keep talking, Carolyn. I love this. Kelly, tell me, what district are you in, school district?
So I teach at Blairsville Elementary. This will be my 5th year there.
Your 5th?
My 5th year, yes.
Kelly, you were just 5.
I
know. Okay.
But my very first year was in Maryland.
Okay.
And so the difference between, what county was I? I lived in Cambridge.
Okay.
I taught in Easton, but I forget what the county was. Talbot County.
Okay.
Or Talbot, if you're here, they say Talbot down there. But the difference in diversity between Talbot County and Blairsville is night and day. And I'm thankful that I had that first year to be in a diverse school, because I mean, we've had so many friends overseas my whole life. So yeah. I feel family when I'm around people of different races. I don't want it to sound like I'm against my own race, but I get tired of white people all the time. I want to be intentional about being cultured and having my daughter exposed to more cultures. And so I'm thankful. And we did a whole week of diversity training. All the teachers had to go through diversity training.
In Blairsville or Maryland?
In Maryland.
Okay.
And that was kind of my first adult exposure to how real racism still is today.
Okay.
I don't think I realized before that year how much it is still a problem.
Yeah.
And I was appalled at the stories that some of the people were sharing during our week. And I believed them, but I was like, I couldn't believe I was hearing it. But
were some of the people you knew for a while?
No, I didn't know any of them.
Okay.
Because they were all, I didn't know anybody in Maryland. I just moved for the job, and so I was on my own. And so yeah, so now being at Blairsville, I think we probably have maybe 2 Black students in our school. I'm not sure.
In Blairsville?
Yes. I mean, there are really not a lot. I think in Indiana there might be more.
Okay.
I know that there are more Black families in Indiana. But in Blairsville, I think it's just mostly white.
Yeah.
So it's, as I've been thinking about as a teacher, how do I present this? How do I teach this when they don't see, kind of what you were saying, Carolyn, when they don't see kids of other races around them? How do we talk about that? I mean, we should talk about it anyways.
Yeah. Because you know what's so interesting, because the pastor that we had this morning, there were a few from time to time, and he's from a huge congregation, and he said the Black people that are they're African, but the Black people that are in his congregation, he said he was shocked once all of this stuff broke out and about the racism and stuff. He said he had been friends with them for years, but he was shocked after he had a hard conversation with them, that he knew them all this time, but he didn't know the stuff that they were going through. And he said that shocked him, because he was like, we've known each other. How come I didn't know this? He said, because you didn't ask. You didn't ask us. And, he did not know that like for one instance, a lady was in line with another friend. These are some of his parishioners, and they were in line at a dollar store. And so when the one Black lady got up to the counter, the lady at the counter, she was a doctor, she was a gynecologist. And so when she got up to the counter, the girl behind the counter said to her, "We don't accept food stamps. We don't accept." She said that to the doctor, who was Black, who was African American. And the lady said, "I'm paying with cash." So the lady that was with her went to the lady at the counter, and she had some words with her because she was offended. And the lady that was with her was white. And so she said something to us, but when she got with her friend, when she got back to the car, she said, "How come you didn't address that? Why didn't you say to her, you're a doctor? Why didn't you say?" She said, "Why didn't you say anything?" She said, "Because I'm used to that." She said, "That happens all the time." She said, "I would be addressing it all the time if I did." She said, "So I just learned to block it out and ignore it." And so that opened up a conversation with this lady, because she said, even though we have been friends, we teach in the same, she taught her child, and she said they're in the same school district, they went to the same church. She said, "I did not know that inner stuff that was going on, that was happening to her." And so it opened up a dialogue, which is good. And I mean, and Carolyn, you talk to Kimball sometimes, so you may know this, but I mean, for many years that we lived in Indiana, I mean, you would be shocked at the stuff we went through. I mean, it was just, you just learn to adapt, you learn to, adjust. I mean, my father was really shocked when I said I was going to IUP and I was staying there. He was like, with those white people? Really? You go to school there, you graduate, and you go home. Because, you know, you can't, you know, and so that's the thinking in Black people's minds, that kind of thing, until you meet white people who are woke. And when I say woke, I mean, not just you're around them, but you're in the heart of them. You want to know who they are. Because a lot of times, and we did it too, Kimball and I talk about this a lot, we did it for a time where you adapt to your surroundings, which means you leave aside who you are. And so it was shocking one time because when we were all together, it was Kimball, Paula, you guys know all of them. We were all together, we were talking, and then somebody else, I think it was Nevin, he came and he listened to us from the other room. We were talking, and then he came in the room and we like shift and talked a different way. Not talking bad, we weren't, you know, swearing, but it was just a different dynamic because we knew if we kept talking the way we were talking, he wouldn't understand. And now we're at the point where you hear something like that, that privilege, you have the privilege of saying, because a door has been opened, what are you talking about? And what do you mean by that? And asking questions without feeling like I have to pretend that I know. I don't know. Why are you feeling that way? What are you saying? And I think there's a doorway open now that we can ask that so that we can communicate to each other and to children. You know,
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I feel like, so my one daughter, Phoebe, she had a really good little friend whose dad was Black.
Okay.
And they were really good buddies. That family ended up just this past year moving away to Ohio.
Okay.
So that, I feel like that was like one close connection that she had.
Yeah.
But then they moved away, so we don't even have that anymore. But I also, like, I want to balance, and I don't know, I'm sure it's exhausting for you as a Black woman to feel like you have to educate everybody. Does that feel exhausting to you?
No, it doesn't. I have to say, because you know what, it was at one point when I first went to Indiana from Philadelphia, it was because, and it was during that time, it was more overt prejudice. And as time went on, you seen that, I don't know if this is a word, overtness. You've seen it sort of, you know, it sort of back up. It was still there, but it was sort of, they wanted it polished a little bit. And you can tell that, so you can tell that hypocrisy. But when we first went there, it was, I remember going into the store and a little girl rubbing my hand. And so, and her mother was like, come on. But I knew what she was trying to do was like, does that come off? That kind of stuff. If she would have done that to my sister would have had a fit. But to me, I decided early on, when people touching your hair and you know what, you know, I decided early on, if I want people to know about Black people, I want them to know it from me. Because the only thing that they knew at the time was Good Times, The Cosby Show. I mean, you know, things, that's the only thing that they could, and to them, that was relating to Black people. You know, I mean, if you don't know how to approach that situation, I can kind of understand that. You know what I mean? And so I would rather, no, it doesn't bother me at all. For me personally, it may somebody else, but I would rather for you to learn about the Black race from me. I would rather that. And I'm in the midst now, it's almost done. My illustrator is almost done. I'm doing a children's book on diversity.
Awesome.
And one part of it is, years ago, I heard this theory. I don't know where I heard it from, but it was equating diversity with a pot of stew. And they said in that pot of stew, in the book I have a pot of stew, and in stew, you know, you have carrots, you have potatoes, you have beef, you have different things in the pot of stew. And so all of that is, once you eat it, it's like a symphony of loveliness. Separately, they have individual tastes. And so apart from, and I can say this because I know you both are believers, apart from us wanting to learn through the eyes of God about how he created us. I mean, if you bite into a carrot, you don't want that carrot to taste like a potato. You don't want the potato to taste like a piece of beef. You want everything to keep its distinct taste, and then collectively it's good. And so that's how I think about diversity, because they used to say, even when we went to House of Yahweh years ago, and I understand the love, really hear me, I understand where they were going with what they knew. It was God doesn't see color.
Mm-hmm.
And so we embraced that for a little bit. And then after a while, I started getting offended by it. Because when I see you, I see that you're white ladies. When you see me, you see that I'm Black. A better way to say it is, you don't judge me. I don't judge you because of this. Mm-hmm. You see that. And so there's a purpose why I'm Black. There's a purpose why you're white. This was so funny. In Philadelphia, we had this, the church we went to, and it was very diverse. I mean, it was diverse. It was people from all over, everywhere. Well, in our Connect group was a symphony of different cultures. And so one time I was teaching something. And so then I closed my eyes. I don't even remember what I was teaching exactly. One of the girls might remember. But I closed my eyes and I said, I just love being Black. I just love it. When I opened my eyes, they were looking at me like a deer caught in headlights. And they were like, and I said, you know what? Hello, Jean.
I think she's, yeah, there we go.
Can you hear me? Hello, Jean. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you, Sharon?
Very well. I'm glad you joined us. Thank you.
Well, I'm not sure I can stay on long. I'm
okay. Well, just
crazy things here.
Okay, it's okay. I understand. I just want to finish this one thought with them, and then I want to hear from you, Jean. But and when I opened my eyes, they were like looking like, and I said it would be unfair for me to throw my head back and close my eyes and say I love being Black, and for me not to accept the fact if you threw your head back and said, and I just love being white. I said, for me to be offended by that is wrong. I said, because we have to first love who we are before we can love each other. Mm-hmm. I said, so for you to look and say, I can never say that. Yes, you can. And one of the things I want to talk about today is this word, because it's offending people, white privilege. What do you think of that when you hear that? Jean, since you just came in, you got to go. I'm going to let you go first.
Okay, I think I'm having a little trouble hearing very clearly, but I think you said, what do I think of when I think of white privilege?
White privilege, yes.
Yes, I think of it as a condition where people who are white do not have to worry about being turned down for a job or being attacked by someone verbally or physically simply because of their skin color. It can go across the board in all kinds of different situations. Those are only a couple of the things that came to mind when I think of that. But that's my vision of it. And I think part of it, unfortunately, is a blindness also to what other people are going through.
Right.
A complete blind. I have people in my circle of friends and family who will say, there's no racism in America. Yeah. Because they haven't experienced any of it. They haven't seen it. They haven't.
Clueless.
They know that they have it within them.
Yes, right. Exactly. But if you say that, people will push back. They don't like to hear that I'm a racist with me. But the other thing is with the white privilege, and you're right, Jean, I agree with all that, but with the white privilege, another thing I like to attach to it is with the white privilege, because there is a white privilege. And so should you be ashamed of that, or can you utilize it? I think it can be used because like you were saying with your family that you're around, and I think with your son, no, it wasn't your son, but on the Zoom that your son was on, one of the guys said when he's with his family, they are always nigga, and then the niggas, and he said, he's just like, stop it. What are you saying? And he said he'll go right in. That's to me called him using his white privilege correctly, because I'm not at that table. I can't say that I can't speak into that situation, but he can. And so us utilizing, not trying to act like it's not there, but since it's here, since that's the label I have, I'm going to use it to the glory of God.
And
that's a good perspective. Sense. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Wow.
So, one of the questions I had here was, who are the unloved? And Jean, I love the questions. I love your slight corrections. The questions you sent me, I love that. But who are the unloved and who are the loved? I think I sent those questions to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think of what did you think when I wrote? Did you think, what did she talk about, the loved and the unloved?
Well,
I think they're
go ahead.
Go ahead, Carolyn, or whoever started. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. Why don't you go ahead, Jean, because you may not be able to stay as long.
Oh, okay. I think there are an awful lot of people that in one way or another are unloved. I think my first thought when I think of the unloved is homeless people. That's where my mind goes with that. They must feel very unloved to find themselves in a situation where they actually, in some cases, choose to be homeless.
Right.
And I think that if you're feeling that you don't love yourself and that no one else loves you, you're in a terrible situation, obviously.
Right.
And that's one of the groups that I would think of as the unloved.
Right. What would you speak into that, Carolyn? What goes through your mind?
I certainly,
baby.
I know. My first thought, certainly, just because of my own experiences, goes to children in foster care.
Okay.
It is rough, and there are so many horrible experiences. I mean, they're having horrible experiences in their home, whatever they lived in before. Then they have the trauma of being torn from their home, which, even if that's a bad situation, being separated from their family and put into a different family, that's traumatic in and of itself. And sometimes the foster families, sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not.
Right.
And there's just trauma to go all around for everybody. And in my own experiences, we've had a lot of foster kids, we've adopted some. And even though you love these children and you want to love these children, it is hard sometimes. And they'll tell you, like, this is something that they said, like, during our training, was like, oh, just love them like they're your own kids. But it is not the same. It is a stranger coming into your house that you are suddenly supposed to treat the same way that you treat your bio kids or previously adopted kids.
Right.
And it is not the same. And so even with the most well-intentioned desire to love, sometimes it's just not easy. It's not just like, well, just love them. And sometimes you need tools and strategies. And I have found things like the 5 love languages to be super helpful, just like help me understand how to communicate. So that is where my mind goes first.
Okay. Yeah. Kelly Maria?
My mind first went to the kids with disabilities that I work with at school. Because I see them being left out of things. I see that they have, all of my kids that I personally have on my caseload are on the spectrum. So they struggle with social interactions. They struggle with meeting the expectation that society has said, this is how you act around your peers, or this is how you say this or do that. And so I actually wrote down that I feel like the definition of unloved people, for one, isn't something that, if we're going to look at it spiritually, God talks about loving the least of these in the Bible, but he loves everyone. So unloved is a term that society has created.
Yes.
Because God, there's no room for unlove in him. So when we talk about unlove, it's something that we have to address us. But they're people who are different, or the outcast, or my husband had a good one, people who are difficult to love because of certain characteristics they have, or things that may annoy us. But it's something, again, it's like a heart issue with us. That it's something we have to choose to see them through God's love and God's eyes.
Right.
And I don't think we disconnect spirituality from this, because God created everyone, and he is spirit, and he's created us in his image. And so I think we have to look at this through spiritual eyes, so to speak. So that's what I had.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that was something, a conversation we just had recently with somebody, because we are spirit, soul, and body. You're right, Kelly, in that spirit, soul, and body. Because I asked somebody, and they were Black people, I said, if racism or any of the issues that you mentioned, will that completely ever be eradicated? And the answer is no, if we're honest. In heaven, it will be. In the meantime, and I'll just use for racism, but it could go for any of the topics you guys brought up. But if it's never going to be completely eradicated, does that mean I have to suffer here on earth for the rest of my life? And the answer is no, because I don't think racism is not just right now. It's on the stage of human history where we're dealing with, because of what happened to George Floyd and different things that are taking place. But there's racism within the Black community. I mean, it's called colorism, and there's racism. There's different kind of isms, and so I think the thing is, the heart of a person. You're right, Kelly. The heart of a person is important because it's spirit, soul, and body, and because in order for us to break the ceiling of things that are taking place, and it has to start in the church. I'm gonna say that because it's spirit, soul, and body. In the church, we have really left that. We have not touched it. Clearly, we just left it, is what it is. And so now to do a door for us to go through and to sort of change some things. And so if it's not going, systemic racism, should be dealt with. I mean, because God said he would reign upon the safe and the unsafe. I think that's important. But as far as in the church, what we teach our kids and ourselves, that's why I use that example of me loving being Black, because if I don't love who I am, I can't love who you are. And so I can't blame you for me not loving me. So if white people never like me until Jesus comes back, am I never going to like me? Am I going to blame you? If I don't like me, I cannot force you to like me. You understand what I'm saying? I cannot. I mean, I know some things. When I lived in upstate Pennsylvania, there were some things and I know everybody doesn't think like this. This is why I'm fighting, I'm pushing for injustice. But I know in my heart that if God has something for me, and you guys can relate to this, if God has something for me, the gates of hell can't stop it. You just can't. I mean, you just cannot stop it. And so in my fight for racism right now, it's because God has opened a door, and in that door, I want to work together with what he's doing. That means there's going to be new opportunities, new things I don't understand, new things I want to teach, because when I hear some Black people talk about racism, they're like, you know what, if they don't understand it by now, I don't have anything to say. I'm not there, because I think we do need to have a conversation. We do need to talk. We do need to understand, because we have kids that we need to pass good things on to. And we can't, we know the generation, you guys know, and I want to talk to you, Jean, about this too, because I love the way your kids respond. You have something to give us. But, kids are asking why do you do that? Why, the why questions, and we need the correct answers for them. Don't you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I hope that made sense. But Jean, I wanted to say something to you. I keep thinking about you because I don't want you to go before I ask the questions that's in my head. Your son and your daughter so blessed me with how they handle this racism. And they didn't get that from the air. What did you put in them?
The love of the Lord, I guess. I am very happy with their response as well. Yes. And thank you, Sharon, for saying that. I would hope that they would respond in a loving manner, in a way that shows that they care about people and that they love people. That clearly is one of the things that you have to teach kids. You have to teach them, just as you said, to love yourself, because if you have to love yourself first, because Jesus said, "Neighbor is yourself," and if you don't love yourself, you can't love your neighbor. Right. And whoever your neighbor is, that's one of the things that we talked about. Your neighbor is everyone. Right. It's not just that best friend who lives in the backyard. Right. Or it isn't just that girl that lives down the street that you spend your time with. It's everybody that you run into, and it's everybody that I don't know. One of the things I think that we have, I have at least invested, I guess, a lot of time in, is the equal standing of people before God, and what should be our equal standing among one another, women and men, people of color, white, Martians, if they come and join us.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think that's
I
what
mean, your son made it easy for my son to live in Indiana. I don't know if you knew this.
No,
I didn't. Made it. I mean, Herbie talked when
I knew they were really good friends, but thank you.
Yeah, they were good and bad together. Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
Right. But Herbie, with some of the things Herbie tells me now, was like he needed Jimmy during that time. I mean, they're still friends, but he said, because some of the things people would say, it was like, are you serious? You know about him being a black boy, and but Jimmy got it. So I'm grateful for God having him. But I love that what you said about neighbor, because sometimes we think the neighbor is just our church family. The neighbor is maybe the gay man that lives next door, or the handicapped person that lives next door. It's our neighbor. God didn't specify. He just said your neighbor, whoever that is.
Right.
Because I think sometimes we want to change people, and that's not really our job. It's God's job.
Right.
It's our job to love and let God love through us. But I can get off in it. That's. So I want to ask another question before she leaves. So when we think about equality, what do you think about when you think about the word equality? And how can you put equality in kids or people that, what is your thought on equality?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking whoever will answer.
Well, I'll jump in because I feel like this is something that we talk about kind of as the family a fair bit just within our household, but I feel like the ramifications of it go far beyond our household. And that is within our 7 kids, we have a wide range of interests and abilities and giftings and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And so we talk a lot about how everyone is unique. God has given each of us strengths and weaknesses, and we're not to be ashamed of any of those or proud. I mean, proud in a prideful way.
Yeah, right.
Like lording anything over someone else. And that just because maybe your specific strength area is not the same as someone else's doesn't mean yours is less in any way. And so we talk a lot about being thankful for who God made us to be, that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, just exactly as we are, and that is true for everyone. And even if it's a difficult person that they're struggling with in school, how can we pray for that person? What are the positive things we can find in that person? All of those sorts of things. And I have to kind of change my own attitude sometimes too, because I feel like defensive against something someone has said about my kid.
That's a mother bear.
And to be honest, like you mentioned the gay neighbor next door, I feel like we've had many more conversations about homosexuality and how to handle sexual differences, because that is a lot more prevalent in our area, and the kids are hearing about that from their friends, and we know people who have gay parents, and so that is a lot more part of our daily life. So we've talked about how to interact more with that, but I think that all of the things and what we're trying to instill in them is that there is not a one standard of like what a good person or the right person is or whatever, that God has created all of us uniquely and wonderfully, and that we do need to love ourselves first. I love that keeps coming up. I love Kimball. Kelly, I know you know Kimball, and Sharon, I know you do. I don't know if you do, Jean, but I was listening to the podcast she was on, The Ferment, which I listened to that podcast pretty regularly anyway, but I was so delighted that she was there. And she mentioned a guy, and I actually ended up looking him up, but now I can't remember his name, but who talked about how God's glory cannot be fully grasped by any one set of people, and how it takes all of the different kinds of people and all of the different facets of God that they show to fully see his glory. And I I loved that. And I was actually trying to find that as an actual quote that I could copy down.
Yeah.
But I just love that. And I feel like that is so true. Like everyone has when they're healthy, like they have a piece of God that no one else can display, you know?
Yes. Oh yeah, I love that. I love that podcast too. I think that was excellent.
It was.
Yeah.
I was so proud of her. It was awesome.
Yeah. And what about like movies? Because Jean, they were saying earlier, or at least Carolyn, she's not around Black people in her community, and that's no condemnation for that. That's where God placed you, so you have to thrive there. But what about movies and different things, books? Would you suggest? Like, I'm sure you may already do this, Carolyn, but books and different things you can introduce your kids to?
Well, I know this is going to sound maybe a little cheesy, but we is more about movies, really. But we opened up the show Blackish to our kids.
Yes, that's a good one.
I had watched it personally, and to be honest, there's a little bit more sexy stuff in it that I was like super comfortable with my kids watching. But I had watched through the series. I mean, it's still on, but for myself, and I was so like, that's where I learned about Juneteenth. And I was so impressed with that show's ability to bring in social questions, and even like the race, the colorism within the Black community, and just like all of these different things, they were just able to integrate it so well, I thought, and educate people within a sitcom. Like, I was really impressed with that. And so we opened it up to our kids, and so they've been watching that. It's brought up a lot of good conversations. So we tried to do some things like that, and this one's kind of silly, but like we've been watching, of course, all the Marvel movies, and so we watched the Black Panther, and so that, you know, brought up some conversations too. So I feel like movies have been particularly helpful because it's something we can all do at the same time together, and then talk about it afterwards. Have been helpful with conversations.
Okay, I think that's good because it's not threatening. It's just, and they're comfortable with you. I think that's a good place to add. Jean, I want you to just keep talking until you have to run.
And I'll keep talking unless someone shuts me up. So I will try not to talk.
Carolyn, I think you and I are very similar. Kelly, you have to jump in here too.
Thinking.
Jean, you had a question down here, and you said, what models do we ourselves follow to love the unloved? What models do we use to, you know, I love that question. What models do we ourselves follow to love the unloved? Examples of rapists.
Yeah, I think an obvious answer is Jesus. Loving it, anybody and everybody within his scope of acquaintance, so to speak. And so obviously that's the number one. I think that I guess I want to back up a little bit and say that when I grew up in a small town where I was old enough to hear all sorts of ethnic words used to name all sorts and groups of people in a negative way. And I had to unlearn that, so to speak. I didn't use the words myself, but I heard again and again and again in my circle of people there. That's the way my small town was. And delighted when I had friends who were Black, who were Asian, who were whatever group, gay, whatever group that I had heard put down, I'm going to put it that way, and to learn from them, I think, how to relate to the different people that I was running into. And my little pretty much white growing up existence, that was a wonderful experience. So I learned through the people that befriended me, and I befriended and taught me, teachers sometimes students, which is really thing to learn some things from students as well.
And are you retired in the Indiana School District? You were in the Indiana School District, right? Are you still working, teaching?
No, I retired.
Did you retire?
Yeah. A time ago.
Yeah. Did you see racism, that kind of stuff, when you were teaching with the Black students? Did you see any of that? Notice?
I saw a little.
Okay.
I will say that I think that there were a few teachers that I would have said were racist, specifically, which was disappointing to me. And I thought, they don't belong here. They don't belong in the school situation, because, you know, they just don't. If this is if they're attitude, they do not belong here. I don't think that I saw it as much maybe here. I did teach in New Jersey, in Salem, New Jersey.
In what part of Jersey?
Salem, New Jersey.
Okay.
You know where this is probably?
Yes.
You know, yeah. That's
okay.
I taught there half of a year.
Okay.
Before back here to Indiana.
Okay.
But yeah, that was a different kind of a situation. And I remember that there were tensions there amongst the kids, I'm going to say, I guess, across the board at that point. That was a long time ago. I didn't even want to say, but a time ago. And I can remember some of the students really feeling as though people were picking on them, as they would put it, and having a very negative attitude. For example, and the kids too. It was probably 40% approximately Black students, I would say, and probably about 55 to 57% white, and then a few Asian kids there, but not.
Okay. So it wasn't real. I mean, it wasn't like 50-10. I mean, 90-10. It was, sort of,
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Kelly, Maria, come on. Talk to me, girl. Kelly looked like she's ready to sleep.
Oh, no, I'm good. I'm relaxed.
Are there any books that anybody would recommend that you could use for kids that you could say to people listening in? Are there any books that you could recommend, or not yet? Now that I said it, you're going to look for books.
Yeah.
I found one children's book that I actually, I sell books with Usborne Books and More. And so I was actually looking to see what books we carry, because I know we carry a lot of books about diversity. I have to put in the right keyword or the book doesn't come up. So I was having a hard time looking for some, but the one I found.
And that's a problem. They have to change that. You have to recommend that.
Yeah, I know.
That has to change.
I typed in Black, hoping that it would bring up African American genres, but it didn't. It brought up titles with the word Black in it, which was a whole bunch of other things, like the Black Doom, or what, like other books that just have Black in it. So that is something that I can send the company. But the one book was called Can I Join Your Club? And it's for littles. It's for little kids, probably up through 3rd grade, I would say. But it's about a duck who wants to be accepted by his group of, there's a bear and there's a, bunny or whatever. And nothing he does allows him into the group. And so he's on this journey throughout the book to figure out how he can be accepted. And I thought that was a kid-friendly way to portray difference, or to portray someone being unloved. And I think if we were to use it as a teaching tool for accepting people who are different than us, it would be good. And it's age appropriate for littles. But I was actually hoping for some recommendations on on books because I'm currently in the market I want to learn more and read more, and so I was hoping for some suggestions.
Kelly, you have to write to the company, your company that you work for, because that's a little disappointing that they don't have books with black faces in them, because you can't compare.
They do. Sorry, searching the keyword to find those books is the difficult part.
Okay, but they
have
have
tons of books. Yes, they have tons of books with all different faces.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't.
You better clarify that, girl, because I'm about to go into that company.
I am very proud of the way they've handled everything. They've sent out like a very good letter saying that, Black Lives Matter. I think they specifically put it in there.
So tell us the name of this company.
Usborne Books and More.
Okay, because I want to give you a shout out for that.
Yeah, I'm very proud of the way they've handled everything, because I'm sure that I just meant like searching for the books is a little tricky, because if I don't know what the book is called or who wrote it, if I just type in, like if I wanted to look for books out for Black education, I couldn't type that in and find it easily. So I have to do a little bit more digging. But no, they absolutely advocate for differences, and they're actually they've gotten a lot of awards for the types of books that we sell. So I'm very pleased and very proud to work for their company.
Okay, good. Kelly, I saw you marching for Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
I was like, my little white Kelly is marching for us Black people. I love it.
Me and my mom and dad went uptown, and my dad and I and my mom have all had really good conversations around all of this. I'm really thankful for them. My dad's, when he's been teaching at church, he's been calling things out, and I'm very proud of him and thankful that he is listening. And it's been a really good thing for all of us to talk about. And
good. That's good. That's good to hear that. Carolyn, you had something to add.
I wanted to just add a couple kids books. I guess I didn't realize that was what you were asking earlier. When I was teaching, now I haven't taught in a public school for quite a while now, but I was kind of just what you described, like looking for Black faces. Like I just wanted representation. Like that was the most thing I was going for right away. And so I loved the books like Amazing Grace. I don't know if you've ever read that one, about a little girl. Her name is Grace. And then there's a second one, which I think is called Princess Grace. And then it's kind of a kid's book about Michael Jordan called Salt in His Shoes. And that was a really good one. And it was a really wonderful like role model for perseverance as well. And perseverance was always like one of our, character words that we would use and stuff like that. And then I also would look for kid versions of biographies, like so Martin Luther King Jr., Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, like, the names that you've heard of. I wish that there were more that weren't just like, like the top 3 names all over and over again, and for me, a couple years ago, I read The Warmth of Other Suns, which is about the movement of the Black community between 1915 and 1975 from the South to different areas of the United States. And it is heart-wrenching, but fascinating and very informative. And they kind of follow three individuals. It's a very long book. They follow 3 individuals through their change, and then their family coming up behind them and the things that they experienced during that time. And it was a really good. And I know that Kimball, and I think you had it too, Sharon, on your Facebook a couple recently, a stack of books of things to read to start opening up these conversations more. And so I have a lot of those I listen to books more than I actually read them these days, because I can do them while I do other things. And so I have a stack in my Audible wish list for those things. But
I'm sorry. Love the conversation. I would love to stay, but see you all later. Love you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your voice, and thank you for being woke. You get the woke badge. Love you, Jean.
All right. I love you guys.
Yes.
Talk to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can end up here, but this was, I want to have this conversation again because I love this. I love this conversation. And Kelly, you have to tell us some of the books from the company that you work for.
I'm going to do some digging tonight, and then what I'd like to do is make a graphic. I think someone's already made it, and I just can't find it. Somebody made a graphic and shared it with our company Facebook page of books to recommend, books to encourage families to read. I just have to find it, or I'll make my own, because I think that's so important. It's so important to have those in our classrooms, in our homes, and I want all of the kids to see those beautiful colors, like you said. Like, we don't want to be colorblind.
Right.
We want to see people's colors and appreciate them and love them and ask about their cultures and be a part of their lives, because it's amazing. God made cultures and colors for a reason, because they are beautiful.
Yes,
and
that's right.
I actually, when I went to England 3 years ago, I think, I got to sit next to, she's a legitimate African queen. She was on the plane sitting next to me for the 8-hour trip, and
she called herself an illegitimate?
No, she is a queen. Like,
an actual, yeah,
she's an actual queen, royalty. She is royalty wherever her part of Africa is. So when she goes to weddings and funerals, she has to wear something completely different. No one's allowed to wear the kind of garments that she's allowed to wear. Hearing her talk about everything was so fun. It made the trip so much fun to listen to her. And I thought, we don't get this. Like, we don't have that kind of culture here. And I love learning about that. And having those experiences is just priceless.
Yeah. And you know what? That talk is all throughout the Bible.
Yes.
Different cultures, it is different. You read through the Song of Solomon, they'll even talk about the complexions, the dark, and it's like, it is there. How did we miss that in the church talking about it? How did we think that we would offend each other by talking about it, saying how beautiful we are and talk, but we have an open door now and things are changing, so that's
Sharon, I don't know. Do you know Donovan and Felicia at all that are at the? I only barely do, but they're a young Black couple that's at Word of Grace now, and they're really kind of doing just wonderful things. Yeah, and I know that my parents and them and a group of other people. I know also Chanel. Do you know Chanel, Kelly? Okay.
Yes.
Chanel is a friend of Mary's who I think lives in Pittsburgh now. But anyway, they read through the book, The Woke Church, as a group and had some really amazing, wonderful discussions. And I know that it totally broke my dad. Like, he just had no idea about some of the things that had been going on. And my parents went and they went to a Black Lives Matter march too. Maybe they were with you at the same time when you were there, Kelly. And so I know too, I feel the same way, Kelly. I think it's so exciting to see these conversations starting to happen and take root. And that even happened a year or two ago, before the latest round of attention in the media. And so I think that there are new conversations happening and being dug up. And I think that this platform right here is so valuable. I know I wonder, I don't know if you got this idea from them or not, but I have really, really enjoyed and appreciated learning from the Red Table Talk that Jada Pinkett Smith does. I know they had one on there about a white actress who had adopted a Black child and talking about all of the different complexities of that and how, should white people even be adopting Black children, and the whole idea and things like that. So I appreciate so much, Sharon, that you are doing this, that you are inviting people in. And I know I feel very clunky. I feel like I want to do it right. I want to honor people. And I do feel a little fearful sometimes that I'm going to say the wrong thing. And I don't ever want to come across as offensive, but I feel like in my own, I want to be aware of my own ignorance, and I want to continue to learn.
Yeah. Carolyn, please always ask me, because you are one of you too, Kelly, are one of two of the most woke people I know, really. I mean, you bring tears to my eyes saying what you said, Carolyn. But I mean, you wanting to know, no question, no on this table, no questions are stupid. I mean, I want you to ask them. It's not like you're trying to be offensive. You're trying to learn. And in us learning, we make mistakes. You know, I can remember when I was in school, there was a guy I went to school with, and we were playing. He was a white guy, an Italian guy, and we were playing, and I said to him, "Oh, you old Dago." I said that to him. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I said that to him because that's what my father used to always say in our home, which it was wrong. And so I said it to him, and he said, "You nigger." Well, the teacher didn't hear what I said to him, but she heard what he said to me. And so she said, "You get down to the office right away." And I mean, and I thought, and I remember sitting thinking, he's going to get suspended, he's going to get in trouble. But really, I initiated this. So I went down to the office and I said, and I told them what happened, and we were both reprimanded of not saying that kind of stuff. They didn't know how much to do with it except say not to say it. And so I learned that, you know what, there's certain things you can say and certain things you can't say. And, you know, I can't say anything either like you can't, but from that. And this particular guy, I learned a lot more later on from that one situation. And so, and I'm saying that to say, please ask me questions. Please, if you anything you want to know. And I'm serious, Carolyn, about your kids. I think I said this to your son too, because we live on a resort. And we have a beach here. We have ponds. I mean, we have a country club. I mean, it is just loaded up here. So this is a fun spot.
Yeah.
My grandkids can't wait for all this to be over so they can get here. You know, so.
And where are you these days? In Georgia?
I'm in Georgia. I'm in Villa Rica, Georgia. I'm about 35 minutes from the city of from the city of Atlanta. About 35 minutes from the airport. You know, not that. Or like I'm central to everything almost.
All right.
But I live on, get this, it's called the Fairfield Plantation.
Oh my gosh.
But we said now we own the plantation. We don't pick cotton.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
It's a different, you know, the narrative is different. But I love you guys so much, and thank you. And you know, I'm gonna call on you again, and please ask me questions. But I think this time, this Zoom table talk is going to help people. It really is.
Yeah.
And so, you know, thank you so much again.
Awesome.
And we need to give each other a thumbs up. And you both get the badge of woke. Everybody don't get that, but you two get it.
That is a huge honor. Thank you, Sharon.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. It really is. So I love you guys, and thanking any questions. Any questions you have to ask me, you want to answer to, ask me.
Okay.
Love you.
Love you too.
High five.
High five.
So good to see you both.
Yes, you too. Goodbye.
Bye. Tschüss.